You're watching Sun TV, broadcasting to the world from studios in Providenciales, in the beautiful binational Turks and Caicos Islands. Sun TV, your source for real news as it happens.
Teachers at Clement Howell High School go on a two-day sick-out. Ransley Brathwaite Knowles is elated to be the first local and first female Attorney General of the Turks and Caicos Islands, and Deputy Premier Akira Mizik talks about plans to build a new middle school and to lease a new building to ease the overcrowding at Clement Howell High School. These are the headlines. I'm Tadleen Dafferlin, and thanks for watching this edition of Sun TV News. There will be no classes at the Clement Howell High School on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week because teachers will be on a sick-out to protest against unsatisfactory working conditions and continued violence at the country's largest high school. And a bold move which indicated to the authorities that enough is enough, the 70-plus teachers decided they will flex their muscles until drastic action is taken to address serious concerns which have been nagging them for some time. The school, which was built to accommodate 500 students, currently has a student roll of around 900. In addition to the serious overcrowding, gang violence involving students and, in some cases, outside intruders has created a climate of fear at the school. On Monday, February 24th, the extreme conditions reached the critical point where the governor, the premier, the deputy premier, the opposition leader, the commissioner of police and his deputy, the director of education, officials for the Human Resource Directorate, and the principals and vice principals all became involved. Sun TV spoke with Deputy Premier and Minister of Education Honorable Akira Mizik, and she gave the details of what transpired on Monday.
We met with the teachers as we were notified over the weekend that there was a possible industrial action that would have been taken by the teaching staff at that facility, and we thought it best, given that there was no protocol or guidelines in place in which industrial action can take place for TCIG or civil servants, we tend to use best practices, which would be the leader of the strike action notifying the officials, which would be the Ministry of Education and Department of Education, that possible industrial action would be taking place, when it would be taking place, and how long the action would be taking place for. During that meeting, that was explained to the staff members, to the teachers who attended the meeting. They were able to air their other concerns in relation to health and safety and the continued disruptive behavior by students that are inside the school, Clement Howell High School, and or other persons who scale the fence or trespass on the property, again, to create disturbances within the learning sphere. At the end of the meeting, because there was no clear list of concerns or issues that they wanted the ministry to address, a meeting then took place with the principal and his staff directly. On the conclusion of that meeting, we were then able to have a meeting here with the Premier, the Commissioner of Police, and the Deputy Acting Commissioner of Police, along with the persons who attended the meeting at Clement Howell this morning. It was during that meeting that we finally received confirmed statement from the principal on being notified by his staff that during the next 48 hours, next 2 days, that the teachers will not be returning to the school and will not be providing tuition in the classrooms. And with that, we ask parents to be guided accordingly, knowing that there will be no adult supervision at the property for the next 2 days. They have pledged to resume their work and their tuition on Thursday morning, and we're looking forward to having things get back to normal. The government has decided that given the 48 hours that we will not have students and teachers on the property, we will utilize that time to address some of the areas that they raised today, including the overgrowth of grass and trees that block the various entrances of the school, areas where children or students or persons who decide to disrupt school tend to supply the weapons that they use on the property. But because of the brush, it's difficult for you to see it unless you know it's there. So we've already had another meeting with the Ministry of Government Support Services and Mr. Gavin Thomas, who's in charge of Public Works Department, and they will dispatch the verbiage group first thing tomorrow morning to tackle the overgrowth. Other areas of concern that will be addressed within the next 48 hours also include increased police support provided for at the campus, and the Commissioner of Police and the Acting Deputy Commissioner have also confirmed that they will increase police presence throughout that area where Clement Howell is situated.
The Deputy Premier said she is concerned about the fact that a number of persons who caused disturbances at the schools were out on bail for related offenses. To this end, Honorable Mizik said she has written to the Registrar of the Supreme Court and the Chief Magistrate to shed some light on this situation and to be a part of the solution to this crisis.
We are also looking at having a high-level meeting with the staff at the Supreme Court, specifically the Supreme Court Registrar, who we will be writing to today, and the Chief Magistrate, because a lot of the repeat offenders at the Clement Howell High School are also currently going through the court systems for some other offenses that were committed, whether they were on the school property or in the island of Providenciales generally. And we will ask to have an updated list of these offenses that are going through the procedure in the courts to see which students are still attending school and the necessary actions would be taken. We want to encourage parents and guardians to ensure that over the next 48 hours during schooling hours that they are fully responsible for their children, whether that is having the children remain home, taking them to a daycare facility, albeit these children are a lot older than your necessary children who would occupy a daycare facility. But we have been notified that the teachers will not be attending school for the next 2 days. And so parents must be guided accordingly, as the compound will have no adult supervision, but that will give the government time to fix certain areas on the compound that we were unable to fix because of the occupation in the school.
Honorable Mizik said government would like to discourage sick-outs by civil servants, adding that there are other ways that problems can be resolved. She encouraged them to have closer dialogue with the Deputy Governor's office, which is responsible for civil service.
We also want to discourage further action like this in the civil service, as it has a wider connotation and effect on day-to-day operations throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands. And we do know that the post office did a similar action a few weeks ago, and now we are here today with the teachers. This is no guarantee that your requests and demands will be met by the government. We have to deal and work within very tight financial constraints, and we must be all servants of the people to understand that, yes, you may be unhappy, yes, things may not be perfect at whatever department you work at, but having industrial action like a sick-out or a sit-in or a strike is not the way to move forward to have your concerns heard. The government of the Turks and Caicos Islands, which are the elected members of the government, we are not responsible for civil service actions. We're not responsible for decisions that are taken. We're not responsible for employment. And we have continuously worked with the Deputy Governor's Office, who's the head of the public service, also known as the civil service. We will encourage civil servants to restart the CSA so that matters like this can be handled properly with the right guidelines, with the proper notice provided to the government so that contingency plans can be put in place. But if there are great concerns and you're unable to process them through your permanent secretary or the Human Resources Directorate, the Office of the Deputy Governor is there to deal with these concerns as well.
She said the budget has a provision for a middle school, and there are advanced negotiations with 2 landlords who are bidding for a junior high school.
The problem is twofold at Clement Howell. Yes, the physical plant of the school is overcrowded with 900 plus children for a facility that can comfortably hold around 500. The budget, which should have gone to London today for approval by the FCO, does have provisions in it for the creation of a middle school here in Providenciales, which will reduce the overcrowding at Clement Howell by 400 children. And so then there will be a facility for a senior school, which will remain in Blue Hills, and a junior school, which we are still in negotiations with a new landlord to lease the building for the junior school, which will be the first and second form. The other issue, and island-wide parent and teacher association meeting headed by the Ministry and Department of Education, will be held either later this week, Friday, or early next week, Monday, to again address the concerns. Parents must be parents, guardians must be guardians. You know that your children are disruptive and they're bringing that disruptive behavior into our institutions. These behaviors will not continue to be tolerated. We are also working with the New Beginnings School, which was created by the Gender Desk as a second chance institution, and the Ministry of Education, again in the upcoming budget, which was sent off to London today for review, has sectioned off funds to ensure that there's a proper program at the school to deal with at-risk, but also continuous disruptive children. And we will look to move the students who are continuously being disruptive, not only in Providenciales, because this matter is happening and in North Caicos at Raymond Gardner. There's some incidents in Marjorie Basin, as well as H.J. Robinson, and we will look at having those students placed at the New Beginnings School within a disruptive program, within a anti-disruptive program, so that they can have the necessary retraining, rethinking, and alleviation of the need to be disruptive on school properties.
You're watching Sun TV, broadcasting to the world from studios in Providenciales, in the beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands. Sun TV, your source for real news as it happens.
Life moves fast. It's extraordinary what you can see when you take a second look. Capture the extraordinary around you with Digicel's 4G mobile internet. Share the moment instantly with our super-fast speeds on your mobile device. The internet as it was meant to be. Only with Digicel 4G. Digicel. Be extraordinary.
Early Monday morning, 4 members of the opposition People's Democratic Movement, PDM, visited the school to show solidarity with the teachers. The PDM delegation was led by opposition leader Charlene Cartwright Robinson, her deputy Sean Aswood, Blue Hills MP Goldray Ewing, and PDM chairman Clarence Selver. Noticeably absent was Shadow Minister of Education Josephine Connolly. The opposition leader said the situation at the Clement Howell High School is getting worse, but government is not doing enough.
This morning the opposition is here and standing in support of the teachers who have decided today to have a sit-in, and it's in response to the recent incident that happened last week. I'm not sure how many of you are aware that we had another incident of persons coming onto the campus armed with weapons, I wouldn't say what type, looking for a student in order to retaliate and rebel, seeking revenge for an incident that had happened off campus. It's been over a year since the opposition was last year speaking to an incident of this sort, and it was back in December in 2012 when we were actually chastised by the ministry for getting involved. But these are all our children, and we remain committed even after we allowed the government to, in the last year, without any interruption, to try to resolve the issues that are happening here. Now, Honorable Selver here, of course, is a former Minister of Education, and he can speak to the history of, what happens when children are together. But we believe that it is getting progressively worse. We don't think the ministry is doing enough to address the violence here in the school, especially with outsiders coming on. And today we really stand with the teachers because they fear for their safety. We fear for the safety of our children and what they're being exposed to, and certainly the life of security officers who are here as well, unarmed. So on that note, what we are calling for is, as we did back in 2012, is for the perimeters to be reinforced. We have to do something different with the front gate, and I would like for you to get a shot of that. I mean, it welcomes outsiders in. We would also, again, urge for stronger security presence. They decide how they want it to be, but it is not a matter of criminalizing teachers and children or the institution by having any sort of temporary police presence, but it's to keep outsiders from coming in as well. We are also calling on the government at this time to address the matter of the students that they have expelled. It is not a wise thing to simply expel children without some sort of alternative. We are failing them as well, even though they may have been identified as children that are not really working in the system. We are failing them when we do not provide some alternative for them as well. The recent incident included a child that was expelled, and I believe it's time now we come up with a boot camp or find some sort of system. I want to congratulate the PTA who have identified a number of the children together with the staff here, who they've identified as some of the ones that are frequently in trouble. But they've done that. They've done their part. And it's up to the ministry to deal with, the information that they have and how they will address these students. So we really need to take care of all of our students, the ones that we've identified that are causing problems, as well as those who are innocently in here and becoming so acclimatized to a climate of violence. And that's why we're here this morning, standing strong with the teachers. They are now being able to have administration here, meeting with them this morning. So as a result of the sit-in and rumors, we understand that persons came down early this morning and they have a meeting, so we say kudos to them. And we do not want you out there to forget this is what they face every day. We're here to create an awareness on their behalf, and they have a reason to fear for their safety and the safety of our students. And the truth is we have a large number of expatriate teachers here. And we have to look at how regional a disaster this can become, even if one of those teachers are hurt. Not that any teacher is more important than the other, but we have to understand we can't ignore these situations, neither can we try to contain them without trying to come up with solutions, and that's why we're here this morning.
Blue Hills MP Goldray Ewing said Monday was a sad day at the school, and he called on the education department to do more to solve the problems at the school.
Today mark a sad day because we were talking about this long time ago in the opposition, how to solve some of the problems in the school. And I must say congratulations to the teachers and parents who identify all the troublemakers in the school, or some of the main troublemakers in the school. It's now time for the education department to act, right? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what is the next step. And we expect for them to act and to make sure that we solve some of this problem that is happening in Clement Howell High School. One of the main things is to separate the school. But if you can't separate the school now, separate the troublemakers from the ones who really want to learn. With that, I would say, the teachers and the students of Clement Howell get my full support to make sure that government do the right thing and taking the troublemakers out of the school, and in a later day to separate the schools, make a junior high and a high school so that it could be properly managed. A much smaller crowd will be more manageable.
Deputy Opposition Leader Sean Oswald called on government to step up to the plate and stop being in denial.
With Clement Howell being one of the biggest or the biggest school in the Turks and Caicos Islands, the future of this country lies right behind us. And it's important that we step up to the plate. In the opposition, we have on a countless occasion offer our assistance. Today we do the same thing again. We will help the teachers, we will even help the government wherever we can in trying to resolve this problem. But trying to ignore it, to kind of control the narrative out there in the public, hide the incident, the amount of incidents that happen or the type of incidents is not going to solve it. And it's incumbent that parents who have their children in the school get out there and speak more about the issues, the experiences that their children are facing, so the general public can understand that there's a serious situation here, it needs attention, and just having sound bites on the media is not going to get it solved. We need to really sit down and look at it and figure out what the next step is moving forward.
PDM Chairman Clarence Salver, who is a former Minister of Education, said the issues at the Clement Howell High School are not new, but what was lacking is swift action.
The issues of the disruption and deviant behavior is nothing new at Clement Howell High School. But what has happened in the past is that swift management was brought to the situation as soon as we saw some occurrence of any disruptive or deviant behavior, so that the situation was not allowed to fester and to grow into a situation where we find now more and more youngsters, instead of shying away from getting involved in a group for their own, so to speak, protection, they saw that as something that they should steer away from back in the day. But now we have a situation where, as the leader has said, students are becoming so accustomed to it that if there is, an altercation or somebody get injured, so you ask them, so what happened today? Oh, somebody got, and we should not allow that sort of attitude to continue, where it becomes such a frequent occurrence. It's to them, it becomes just another incident. We want to see violence reduced drastically. and we hear terms being thrown around, zero tolerance for this and zero tolerance for that. But it takes a proactive response to the situation. And what we see here happening today is a lack of the proper response to a situation. We have had instances where we are led to believe that certain people in the ministry, in the department, they are in denial that certain things actually exist that should not be carrying on at a school, at an institution of education here in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and Clement Howell in particular. So it requires a positive response. And in fact, a remedial response is needed, because we need to mark where we are now, put a plan in place to see a positive reduction, and you monitor your plan to see what kind of results it is actually bearing. And if we are not satisfied with the results, then it means we need to review our plan again and to make the appropriate, take the appropriate steps to address the situation.
The media also caught up with Director of Education Edgar Howell, and this is how the exchange went.
We're meeting with staff of the Clement Howell High School today.
Okay. In what regards?
With respect to an incident that took place at the school on Wednesday, just before the midterm break.
Okay.
We're primarily looking at issues to do with safety and security on the school compound.
Okay. Has there been a problem with security personnel?
It is reported that there were 4 boys who breached the security gate on Wednesday. Hence, teachers are concerned about their safety as they are about the students as well.
Can you confirm whether or not they were armed with guns?
I can't confirm that.
Okay. Sorry, my mic. Is there reports of a sit-out with the teachers? They're staging some type of a protest?
You'd have to speak with the teachers to find out if that is so.
If that is the case?
Yeah.
How many security do you have?
There are 8 security officers here at the Clement Howell High School.
8 securities. In your opinion, is that enough to safeguard the teachers as well as the students?
There were 6 security officers here. The school requested 2 more. The ministry got the financing sorted out for the additional 2, and we imagine that they would have been able to mount a sufficient response. We will see today. We've met with the officers on Thursday, and we will, through our meetings today, determine if we need to increase that.
You're watching Sun TV, broadcasting to the world from studios in Providenciales in the beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands. Sun TV, your source for real news as it happens.
In other news, 42-year-old Rondalee Brathwaite Knowles made history on Monday, February 24th, when she became the first Turks and Caicos Islander and the first female to hold the office of Attorney General. In an interview with Sun TV, the new Attorney General said she was excited when she first got the news.
Well, I was elated to receive the news of the appointment. As I said, it is something that I have worked for a very long time. So when I got the news of the appointment, I was absolutely elated by it.
Governor Peter Beckingham said there was an open competition and she won it entirely on merit, beating candidates from Europe, the Caribbean, and North America.
Very pleased to announce today the appointment of Rondalee Brathwaite Knowles as the next Attorney General for the Turks and Caicos Islands. She won the position. She was given the position after an open competition. There were candidates from Europe, the Caribbean and North America, and Rondalee won it entirely on merit. She was the outstanding candidate, and I think this is a day which the people of TCI can be proud and very happy.
Asked what she will be bringing to the table as the new AG, here's what she had to say.
Well, I think aside from the strengths that a senior attorney brings to the table in, sort of grounding in the legal principles and experiences in the law, personally, I also bring the ability to communicate effectively with others in a way that that is forceful, but at the same time gives a level of comfort and confidence. And it's so, I've managed to use that skill through the course of my entire career. And as a result of that, I have been able to work with the PDM administration, the PNP administration, the interim administration, and to work well with my colleagues, the various officials across government. And just having that sort of tact is, I guess, a way of describing it, is a useful tool for an attorney general, because oftentimes the decisions that you have to take or advice that you have to give is not a popular advice. And, it's not always easy for people to accept. And so the ability to communicate that in a way that allows people to feel a level of confidence and comfort is, I think, a very, very useful skill. I think there is a wide misunderstanding of the concept of government in an overseas territory. And in our constitutional framework, the Queen is the head of state, and we are in British Overseas Territory, so it's a dependent territory. It means that we are still politically administered under the United Kingdom. So how the Constitution frames that is it sets the Queen as the head of state, and it says that the representative for the Queen in the islands is the governor. The governor, at the same time in the Constitution, is a member of the local government. And the local government is formed by the cabinet, which the governor presides over. So the members of the cabinet, the decisions of the cabinet are taken as advice to the governor, which he can take in accordance with the Constitution, and which the Constitution requires him to take. And if he does not wish to take that advice on any particular matter, it sets out a procedure by which he can refer it to the United Kingdom. And it provides in the new Constitution another mechanism in respect of the statement of governance principles, that decisions have to be taken in accordance with those principles. And so where a decision, a bit of advice that comes from the cabinet or recommendation is not in accordance with those principles, and the governor can refuse to take that recommendation. So if you understand that that is the constitutional framework, then as legal advisor to the government, then the advice that is given by the AG is not sort of the AG sitting in one camp over another camp. The AG is not in any camp. The Attorney General is a person or a post holder that stands aside in an independent function that provides advice. Now, sometimes the advice is maybe in favor of one group or another group, or sometimes the advice just goes right down the middle. I mean, the advice is always the same, is the point that I'm making. And so it's not tailored to suit one interest group over another. And so the way that I have managed that in relation to this government, as well as to any other government with whom I've worked, is if I have a meeting with the governor in his capacity as the Queen's representative about an issue, the advice that the governor is being given by me, he must know that that is the same advice that I am giving to the Premier and to the ministers. And if I am in the context of the House of Assembly, it is the same advice that I am giving in the House of Assembly. So I think if you understand that the Attorney General is not in any camp, that the Attorney General is an independent legal advisor, then you understand how they relate to each other.
Well, that's our Sun TV News Brief for today. Join us again tomorrow when we bring you real news as it happens, directly to your computer, mobile device, or smartphone. If you know anyone living overseas who would like to keep up with what is happening in the Turks and Caicos Islands, get them to email us at sun@suntci.com so we can add them to our mailing list to get Sun TV news. Thanks for watching. I'm Toddleen Dafferlin.